Detroit Den 313. We are back. Steve and Will talking that Detroit Lions football, but you already know. Before we get started, hit that subscribe button. Please don't forget that bell icon so you don't miss our new content. We're putting stuff out every day. So you don't want to miss it. Steve, tell the people what we're talking today.
Putting stuff out every day, sometimes twice a day,
Every
sometimes
day.
3 times a day,
7 and
sometimes
7,
four
most
times a
likely.
day. Yeah.
You
We're
never
like
know.
we're like 7-Eleven. We're always open. There's always something going on in the Detroit Den.
Facts.
William, I gotta put this L'Jarius Sneed stuff to bed.
Okay.
I gotta
Talk
be
to the
done
people.
with it. I can't have it. Listen, I have seen so many people on Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram wanting to trade for L'Jarius Sneed. How do you feel about L'Jarius Sneed, and is he worth trading for?
I think he's a dog. I mean, he's the number one corner in the league. So, uh, yeah,
He's the best corner in the league, you think?
no. He's a number
Okay.
one
All
corner
right.
in the league.
All
Yeah.
right. I thought you said he's the number one corner in the league.
No, definitely didn't say that, but he's definitely a high end corner in this NFL right now currently, and I think he's worth high end money. But trading for him is a little bit of a dangerous game, I would think. And you know, honestly, I didn't do too much digging into what it would look like because I don't even know how realistic it is or isn't. So I've been kind of waiting for that. There's a lot of guys out there. We still got, if we're talking high end young guys, you got Jalen Johnson out there. So that might be a route, guys like that, we still got, who we said a little bit more value, Kendall Fuller. So I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket and start to really delve into this until I really know that it's a thing. But if he ended up a Detroit Lion, would I be upset? No, I would not. How about you?
I like the free agency route more. If the Kansas City Chiefs hadn't franchise tagged him, it would have been probably one or two on my list. Here's the thing: I love the Jerry Sneed as a player. What I have an issue with, and what I'm not willing to do, is give up a ton of capital, whether that's a second round pick, a third round pick. Brad Holmes was just voted, his draft class in 2023 was just voted the best draft class in the NFL for last year. So us giving up draft picks is taking ammunition out of Brad's gun to get younger players on better deals. L'Jarius Sneed has been franchise tagged. That's just facts. I'm not telling you guys bullshit or lies. It's already happened. It's $19.8 million. That's what you're going to pay him, and then you're going to have to trade an asset to get that contract. And then you're going to have to pay him. And then this time next year, L'Jarius Sneed could say, "Hey, thank you for the $20 million almost. 1 year rental. I'm actually going to dip. I'm going to go to free agency unless you guys tag me again." That's what I'm uncomfortable with. I have more questions than I do answers when it comes to the future. I don't like 1 year deals. That's what makes me uncomfortable. If he had a 3 or 4 year contract at 27 years old, it'd be a different story. I'd be more willing, and I know the price tag would be a little bit higher, but I would have some more assurances than just a 1 year deal.
I get it, man. I don't know. I don't really have any issue with the fact of him coming in on a 1 year deal, with the ability to be able to tag him if we so needed you to. I think that we would have done our due diligence and had a plan of action for that. I don't think Brad is silly enough to bring in a guy that he doesn't believe that he can sign for a long term deal. So, um, I don't know. I just want a number one corner, and I do believe when we talk about things like second round picks, if we had to give up a second round pick for him, I just have to think about this. Who would I want in the second round? If Max Melton was happened to be there in the second round, I would want him. Would I want him more?
Roa.
But I'm just talking about corners.
I hear you.
So would I want him more than I would want Sneed? Being that I'm gonna get him on a rookie deal. I would rather have Sneed right now to go make this run. Love Max Melton. I think he's gonna have a great career in the NFL. But if I gotta go make my run today and I don't have time to let you develop into the corner that we believe that you're going to end up being, then I would probably, for right now's purposes, I'd want Sneed. But ultimately, man, it just all of it depends. I don't want to give up too much. I don't want to give up too much for him, but a second round pick for a starting number two corner or number one corner in the NFL and moving Cam Sutton to a number 2 corner. That's something that would definitely intrigue me.
I get it. And our second round pick is essentially pretty damn much. It's essentially a third round pick. It's so late in the draft. Yeah, Snead, day one starter, obviously. Not breaking any news there. Number one corner on the team. I like his play. I went back today, and you know why we're even doing this episode is because some comments from our mock draft that just scrambled my brains. Just, just blew me away, William. So
Got rowdy.
yeah, it did. I had to take a step back today. I had to delete some stuff I had sent out. But I went back today and I rewatched the Kansas City Chiefs Miami Dolphins game.
Okay.
L'Jarius Sneed was a problem for the one of the best receivers in the league in Tyreek Hill. So we talk about all the time. Who's it going to have to face for the Detroit Lions? Justin Jefferson, you know, those guys, the Bears, they have DJ Moore, Christian Watson. Like those are the guys he's going to take away from game plan. So I like his game plan. I like his play. I'm going to be okay with whatever Brad does at the end of the day. But since I mentioned Brad Holmes, have you guys, and this is for the listeners, not you, William. I know you know this. I know you know where I'm probably going to go. All off season, Brad Holmes has been saying, I'm not making a big move. I'm not going to go out and, you know, break the bank. I'm taking care of my guys first. My guys being Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jared Goff, if we get that contract done. He's going to take care of the core first. That doesn't leave a lot of money to spare. $20 million, it's a lot of money. I just don't know if you guys are just calling Brad Holmes' bluff and you think he's just bullshitting us, but I truly believe that. I think he's going to take care of the core. He'll sign some free agents. I don't think it'll be anything splashy. If it is, we're hoping for a Brian Burns. That's just the fandom in us. Realistically, I don't know. I don't know if we get a Brian Burns, but I'll tell you right now, that's my number one target. He has not been franchise tagged yet. On top of that, I'm looking at Christian Wilkins, who the Dolphins just said, we're not going to franchise tag you. That's a free agent we could go sign, not give up any capital. We could sign one of the best defensive tackles in the league and address the cornerback situation in the draft.
I hear you. I just feel like oftentimes we talk about what Brad will do and what he won't do and what things that he's mentioned. I think sometimes we take bits and pieces of what he said and turn it into what he means. And I kind of equate it to the good book, man. You can kind of make certain things look in ways that you really want them to. And maybe it's not in the spirit of what it really was. And I think every time that we hear about a free agent being out there and linked to the Lions, even though we don't sign him, Jalen Ramsey, for instance, you find out that Brad was digging into it and he had an offer set up. You know what I mean? So it's not like it's something that is off the table for him to make a splashy move. At the end of the day, it just has to make sense. So I'm not going to sit here and say that we can't end up with a Brian Burns or L'Jarius Sneed or Jalen Johnson or any of these big name guys, Daniil Hunter. I think it's a possibility. It just has to make sense. So he's got this thing figured out between our camp of guys who are doing the analytics to the things that he's doing on his own. He has a strong understanding and feel for where players are going to go in this draft. And I'm quite sure that he has that same feel for free agency. He's got some guys that he's targeting. He knows how much money he wants to pay them. And if those things fall in the line, i.e. a CJ Gardner-Johnson, then we're going to pull the trigger. And if it doesn't, he's going to build it through the draft. Now, what I truly believe Brad Holmes is a guy who wants to build his core through the draft. I don't think he wants to build his team through the draft. He wants to build the core, which he's done. We got a phenomenal offensive line. We got a whole lot of weapons and pieces to that's really the core of this team. Now we're doing what we need to do to go win a Super Bowl. Right. This is a team that wants to win the Super Bowl. And to do that, we may or may not need to make one splashy move. I think that the Detroit Lions may, if the stars align, make one splashy move, one Brian Burns. Now we're going to see a trade for L'Jarius Sneed and a signing of Brian Burns and bringing CJ Gardner-Johnson back. And like some of the stuff that people say that we should do is just kind of crazy. That's what's crazy to me. But I don't think that is crazy for him to make one move. That's a big deal.
I agree with you. I think there will be one move. Like we'll talk about A move that kind of blindsided us last year was Cam Sutton. That wasn't really on many Detroit Lions podcasts or radar. It just kind of
Mhm.
happened, and we're like, "Whoa, Cam Sutton!" Like, kind of came out of left field.
Yeah.
I'm kind of preparing myself for something along those lines, something that nobody's talked about, nobody sees, and it'll end up working out. And I know Cam Sutton caught a lot of shit toward the end of the year last year. He did not play good, especially in the playoffs. But the NFL season's long. He played through some tweaks, some bumps and bruises. Never took a game off. Never missed a game. We just got to get some cornerback depth so that if he does have a boo boo on his ankle, he can take a day off, take a game if we need it. If in the long run, if it's better for us,
Can I fire
but
a question at you?
absolutely.
Cam Sutton related. Would you be surprised next year if Cam Sutton just came out and played like a dog?
I would expect him to play like he did the first 14 games of the year where we just weren't talking about him. We just
Yeah.
didn't need to mention his name. That's fine with me. If I don't have to talk about you, you're doing something right.
I think it's interesting how many people, and I know you haven't, but I think it's interesting how many people has forgot about that Cam Sutton. We even
Yeah.
talked about it on the podcast. Like, hey, you know what Cam Sutton is? A guy that you just forget about because he's just out there doing his job,
He's the
right?
wind. You know he's there, but you don't really have to talk about it.
Yeah, the Cam Sutton that we saw in the second half of the season that was stumbling and fumbling around because he was banged up. Like, again, he's not a guy that's going to say, "Oh, I can't play. I'm banged up. I'm hurt." Like, he's a professional. That's what pros do, and they don't get on and get behind the microphone and say, "Hey, I got this going on or that going on." They just keep playing through it and keep falling forward. So, I think that Cam Sutton is going to go out and be a dog next year. And even though I'm not looking for Cam Sutton to come out and be our number one corner, if he is, I'm not going to freak out.
Yeah.
I think that
And
he is more than serviceable.
real quick, the NFL scheduling did not do Cam Sutton any favors with who we had to face the last 4 or 5 games. He had to go up against Justin Jefferson twice in 3 weeks. He had to go against CD Lamb in Dallas.
Mm.
And then a playoff run, he had to go against Puka Nakua and Cooper Cup. So good luck with those two. Probably one of the best combinations in the NFL. Follow that up with, hey, go out there and guard Mike Evans, one of the best receivers in the last 10 years. Like, that's 5 receivers in 5 games that are the top notch guys at their position, minus
Let's
like
not
a Tyreek Hill,
let's not even play with the Debo Samuel and the Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah, let's not even mention that. Like, he had his hands full. Maybe you could say he was exposed, he wasn't ready. I don't know, but the Cam Sutton we saw from like week 1 to week 14 or 5, I'll say 14. Week 14, we just didn't have to talk about him. He did a serviceable job. Now, it doesn't mean that we don't need to go out and upgrade the position and get a corner like L'Jarius Sneed who can take away those type of receivers, because we've seen it with Tyreek Hill, who is probably the best of the best. It's either him or Justin Jefferson, in my opinion. But again, if the news comes out tomorrow, I wake up, I roll over, I grab my phone, and I see Detroit Lions have traded for Kansas City Chiefs cornerback L'Jarius Sneed. I'm just gonna say, okay, let's go, let's roll
Here
with
we
it.
go.
Yeah, all in. Like, I'm not gonna cry. I'm just giving you my opinion. I don't want to trade for him. If somehow he were a free agent, it's a different story. But I don't know. Maybe I just hold on to draft picks like they're too many fun coupons, because I really like the draft. I really like what Brad Holmes has done in the draft. He's a proven drafter. I don't want to take ammunition away from him is my only concern.
I don't know, man. I'm on both sides of the fence. I'm just gonna trust him. I'm just gonna trust him. I could see a world where we don't take anybody. I truly could. I could see a world where we don't get a free agent that makes any splashiness.
Doesn't move
You know
the
what I mean?
needle.
Yeah, but I think that the free agents could still move the needle, but it's not gonna be a guy where you're like, whoa, man, that's awesome. We got him. Let's go get his jersey. Might be a guy that grows on you like a fungus. You know what I mean?
Wow.
But to the contrary of that, I could also see a world where we go out and get a Daniil Hunter or Brian Burns or Jalen Johnson. Like, I could see a world where it happens.
Yeah, there's
So
tons of options.
yeah, so the bottom line is we don't know what's going to happen. Now, people can sit there and bet and say, hey, it's going to be a Danico Autry and a Kendall Fuller because that's what Brad Holmes does. He doesn't make splashy things happen. But eventually, he's going to make a move. Number one, again, when these guys get signed and the news comes out and behind the scenes stuff, the talks come out, you find out that Brad was linked to these guys. He was investigating. He was figuring out what the numbers were. No different than Jalen Ramsey again. Jalen Ramsey, he had an offer to Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey decided not to take it and to go elsewhere. They let him pick out kind of what he wanted to do. So at the end of the day, let's not paint Brad Holmes as a guy. And I'm not saying you, I'm saying people in the comments oftentimes that obviously are best friends with Brad Holmes, play golf with him, and he tells him his
Beer
deepest dark.
buddies.
Yeah, it tells him their deepest darkest secrets. None of us know what he might do, right? But what I do know is he does his due diligence on everything. No different than the draft. He's mentioned about the draft. We do our due diligence on everyone and look at everyone, and then we make our decisions. We're not just going out and picking guys just because we like them, just because it's a fit. We're picking out guys that we feel like are Detroit Lions. Not everybody's a Lion.
Here's the only breadcrumb I think Brad Holmes has left us this offseason. One is I already said it. He's talked about taking care of the core Detroit Lions right now. Two is I kind of look at it who he does interviews with at the combine. Interviewing a Brian Thomas from LSU, Darius Robinson, like it kind of just leaves a little breadcrumb. Like this is the position I'm looking at, and this is the type of player. But at the end of the day, there's no guarantee who's going to be there. He's going to take the names he wants. He's going to put them on a board. He's going to rank them, however many names there are. He's going to look at the value and say, if I want my number one player, I got to give up probably a draft pick to go up and get him. If I have my third guy there and I really like him, but he falls to me, it's a crapshoot. We don't know what's going to happen. Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell, and probably a handful of other people keep that real hush hush close to the vest. We won't know about it until Inside the Den comes out, probably in like June, July, after the draft's way over and these guys are in training camp.
Yeah, but I also think that we need to remember too, man, it was 50-50 on our draft last year. And I think it was like 50-50 the year before on guys who we brought in to have visits and guys who got drafted that didn't have visits. So just because these guys come in for visits don't mean they're one of the guys that are going to be selected by the Detroit Lions. Oh, and he even mentioned on Detroit Den a little bit, just kind of
Inside the Den.
Yeah. I keep saying Detroit Den.
Hey, he's welcome to come on.
It's just because I want him on a Den so bad. It just rolls off my tongue. But on Inside the Den, he mentioned the fact that, hey, guys, sometimes we bring guys in because we got a strong feeling that maybe one of those other bad guys are going to draft this guy, and we want to get a strong look for who he is and what's going on with him. So this game, our GM is out there playing chess, not checkers.
You just took the words right out of my mouth. Yeah, he really is. I think he's the best drafter in the NFL. I mean, obviously I can really only question one draft pick in the last 3 seasons, and that's Broderick Martin. But that's a story for a whole other day.
Wait till Broderick's a beast next year.
I hope so. I would love to be wrong. I would love to be wrong more than any other player on this team. But guys, when it comes to L'Jarius Sneed, we're in if the price is right. It comes down to trust in Brad.
Yep.
That's what it is. I personally don't want to give up draft capital, but like I said, if I wake up tomorrow morning and I get that ESPN alert, okay, we're all in. Let's go. Let's rock. Let's go get these these kids in the draft. Let's build this team. Let's go win a championship. If L'Jarius Sneed is the guy that Brad Holmes thinks moves that needle, makes his team true Super Bowl contenders and favorites, I'm all in. I trust Brad. William, I think you trust Brad.
I do.
So there it is, guys. Leave it in the comments. I'm sure we're going to get a 50-50 mix here. Some people love it. Some people hate it. Leave it in the comments. Hit that like button. If you're new to this channel, guys, subscribe, and we'll be back later with some more content.
Peace.